Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon, everyone here, students, and perhaps there are some lecturers over here. Okay, I believe that most of these students, the participants are students from the undergraduates, and maybe some of you are from postgraduate. Okay, because since I'm not quite sure who are the participants, maybe from abroad, so I think that inshallah throughout the sessions that I'll be using English, and maybe that, well, maybe once in a while selit sikit lah, maybe tersasu bahasa Melayu kan. Alright, anyway, I'm Dr. Rosilawati Sueb. You can call me Dr. Rose. Okay, so today I will be talking a bit on the research ethics application. All right, now I will not deliberate so much on, like, for example, what is it, the introductions of the ethics and that kind of things, because the main purpose of this is actually to fill in the application form, right? And then how you go about with the filling in the application form. And I'm not quite sure, Dr. Fatin, have you shared the files, the forms with the text inside it with the students? Ke belum? Not yet.
I think those who are teaching EDU 540, we shared the documents with our students already.
Okay, that's good.
For postgraduate students, I don't think so, but I'll share in the chat section later.
Okay, all right, okay. So that one is a PDF form, and then inside the document itself is actually the form with a few with few tags, that kind of things, you know, it's what should I say, some information, yeah, or guide, yeah, for you to fill in the form, all right? I hope that the sound is clear enough, and because it's raining outside there, it's raining heavily. So and I really,
it's clear. Yeah.
so I really hope that the internet connection will be okay. I'm quite worried here. Okay, now, okay, let me just proceed. So at least that we'll be able to get into the application form, yeah, and then after that, so we can be clear about it. Okay, inshallah. Yeah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma aftah alayna hikmataka wa anshur alayna min khazain rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Amin, 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 ya rabbal alamin. Okay, let us just go on. Okay. Meanwhile, those who already received the documents or the examples of the forms with the notes inside it, so maybe that afterwards you can refer to that, will be easier as I go along and can refer to all the documents, yeah, or the forms, yeah. Okay, now, so basically, the objective of the webinar here is just to brief a little bit about the needs of research ethics approval. And then maybe I will go into a little bit of here and there, and then not much of the flow chart, and then later on be in the form. Yeah, that is the most important one. Okay, why we need the research ethics approval? So for the undergraduate, there will be the first one, will be the first batch, yeah, that will be filling in the form, and it will be continuation from there. So you are the very first one. Whereas for the postgraduate, you already started, you already get the students to fill in, and also as well as the staff who applied for research. So basically, we're already on with it, yeah. So, and they also already received the feedback and the application already approved. Okay, so this is just the beginning for the undergraduate students, the first experience that you have, yeah, inshallah. It will not be difficult, yeah, inshallah, yeah. Okay, so here basically it says that, yeah, and research ethics, why we need it? Yeah, because involving human as a respondent, subjects, participant must take steps to protect the rights, dignity, and data confidentiality of the respondent, subject, participants. So basically, we have researchers, we have the subjects, the participant, and also the institutions. So basically, we are trying to safeguard all this. Yeah, because if you don't have the research ethics approval here, so basically, if anything happened, like for example, and someone came and then attacked, or someone, you know, claim a few things here and there, so you don't have a backup basically, because you did not that the researcher did not apply for ethics. Yeah, so this ethics approval is very important, so as that to safeguard all these individuals or the entities or the institution, right? So the researcher, the participant, and as well the institution, in this case UiTM itself especially. Yeah. All right, so it is compulsory for all researchers to conduct research involving human to obtain ethics approval prior to research commencement. So you see the word human here, yeah? So anything that related to human. So if you have a questionnaire, of course you could have to give it just to human being, definitely, yeah? Or interview, in that sense, you are interviewing someone. So that is whereby you need to have those procedures, completion of the ethics approval. Other than that, maybe that we'll discuss later on. Yeah, a little bit of exemption that I would be discussing. Yeah, what kind of maybe exemption that we'll be getting. But again, that those things will go into the review board. Yeah, the faculty review board. That will be determined later on. All right. Next is what is the Research Ethics Committee, REC, to oversee all the research being conducted in the institution with the goals and produce valid result, as well as ensuring the welfare, dignity, and rights of the research participants, as I mentioned just now. So next, all right. The specific objective of REC are to examine the ethical research proposal and to ensure that research projects conducted at UiTM are in compliance with the national and international guidelines, because there are a few references that the REC looking into in order to come up with this guideline, for the researchers to comply with, to fill in the application so as that they comply with this the bodies. All research proposals involving human subjects in UiTM must be approved by the REC prior to the commencement of the research. We have a bit of news here, but maybe later on, the faculty will inform regarding the procedures or the SOP of undergraduate's application form. But I will not deliberate on that yet. Will be informed later on by the faculty. Okay, so let's see. Okay, in terms of submission of ethics approval application, so these are some of the things that going on or going through, with the application, whereby the application is to be approved and endorsed by the faculty research committee. So basically, your application form will go into the faculty first, reviewed by the committee, and then if any corrections, then will be written to the participant. Then only that for certain, they will go into the REC UiTM. Please ensure that all forms has been signed by members of the research team. We'll deliberate on that. All required documents must be submitted within 2 weeks. This is just to give you an overview. At the moment, maybe a kind of, what is this, All right, so submission of all forms prescribed by REC must be in English, whereas UiTM itself, the main medium of communication is in English. So it has to be in English, and with exception research conducted in other languages with Senate approval. There are certain cases, but basically under Faculty of Education, basically I think that it has to be in English line, no other forms of languages will, that go along with this exception. Any data collection instruments require respondent, subject, participant input must be prepared in both Malay and English languages and other languages understood by the respondent, subject, participant if necessary. That will be deliberated again later on, will be explained. Okay, ethics approval application process, procedure. The application. Okay, the application must be sent to the secretariat. All applications must be include the following documents. Okay, so these are the documents that you have to fill in later on. The REC2, REC3, REC4, REC5, the research proposal, the documents, the survey, the instruments, the interview, and so on. I will go again later on. We'll be repeating it again afterwards. Okay, now, once you have filled in the form, after it been reviewed by the faculty members or the faculty review board, then you will receive it back. You make the correction, and then it will go up. As of now, I would say, as of now, I would say the procedure. Maybe it will change a bit later on, but I will not share it at this point of time because it needs to be informed by the faculty later on. So basically, once you finish, you make the correction, and then it will be passed again to the faculty, and the faculty will send it to the REC UiTM. So over there, they will have a few phases of review, and eventually that whether you be given approved, conditional approved, represent or not approved. So especially for the postgraduate students here, because we do have postgraduate students here. So your form will be going up to REC UiTM. So there is whereby if yours is being approved, Alhamdulillah. If your conditional approved, normally it's a little bit of, they maybe some mistakes, or maybe they want you to clear certain things. So you need to make the corrections, and then you need to send it back to REC UiTM. or in certain cases, you need to represent. Yes, to represent in front of the review board of your ITM, REC UiTM, is because of due to perhaps your subjects is vulnerable subjects or participant. Yeah, so there is situation whereby you need to represent, but in other cases, then it will be okay. Yeah, you don't have to represent as a normal situation. Or not approved. Yeah, one of the reasons is because your form is have a lot of grammatical errors, yeah, a lot of problems with the form and so on. So that could be not approved. But if so long as you be able to fill in just nicely from the beginning itself, then I don't think so you'll find any problem with, inshallah, not to be approved. Yeah, the possibly is to be approved. Okay, right. Then okay, this is just to say that about approvals just now, yeah, especially the postgraduate student. Applicant whose application subject to conditional approve must submit the amendment documents within 90 days, yeah, with the letter issued by the REC informing the same. Yeah, that kind of a fresh application has to be made if that it has been so much of a time gap, yeah, and then you have to reapply. So in other words, meaning that once you get the notification to make correction, please do it very quickly, yeah, then return it back to REC UiTM, because if it is stays too long with you, you didn't make the corrections, then or perhaps that you need to make another fresh application. And of course, we don't want that, isn't it? Because we want to make it as smooth as possible so as that you can start collecting the data. All right, next, okay. And then this is just simply basically after you've been granted the, the approval, and then you carried out the research, then later on you have to make some reports here, the progress reports of the research. And this perhaps that maybe you can go into the website of the REC, then you can read on what is the next process of this. But the most important one is that here for you to be granted the approval for you to collect the data. Yeah, first to fill in the application form. Okay, now a little bit of a definition of the minimal risk and more the minimal risk. Okay, in the form itself later on, yeah, the reviewer will tick here whether it is a minimal risk or more than minimal risk. Okay, so what does it mean by that? Yeah, minimal risk is the probability and magnitude of harm or discomfort anticipated in the research are not greater and of themselves than those ordinarily encountered in daily life or during the performance of routine physical or psychological examination or test. So like for example, if you use questionnaire or maybe use interview, just the regular kind of, the normal kind of questions, nothing got to do with a very deep emotional kind of, questioning, and then also that the participant is not a vulnerable one. So it is considered as minimal risk. But if there is some questions which is rather, how should I say, rather sensitive issues, then probably that it will go to the more than minimal risk. Yeah, but then that will be determined by the review board, yeah, the review committee in your ITM REC. Okay, so I have a little bit more here. This one I took it from one of the REC UiTM apa tu? She is so Dr. Sarina's, yeah? PM Dr. Sarina's PowerPoint. Yeah, so I took it. So this is more explanation about the categories of ethic application in terms of the minimal risk and as well as more than minimal risk. As I mentioned just now, yeah. All right, so more than minimal risk here, yeah, studies on vulnerable groups is carried out on unstable or volatile setting, maybe war, for example, involve non-standard methodologies approaches, yeah. In our case, in faculty, I can't think of any, yeah. And present, because most of us basically are using the questionnaires and interviews, but probably from the sciences programs, yeah, maybe they will go into lab or something like that, yeah. Present risk to the personal safety of the researcher or research participant beyond what is normal in the setting, where there is possibility the research may be distressing the researcher or research participant in one way or another. Okay, so these are some of the explanation a bit on the more than minimal risk. And also here there's another bit because just to give an idea, yeah, is what is our research is about, yeah, whether it is in the category of minimal or more than minimal. Okay, again, vulnerable group involves sensitive topics. You might cause psychological stress, anxiety, and humiliation. Like, for example, I came across this one kind of research, whereby they wanted to study on grievances. Yeah, people was already passed away, and then what is the, how they felt regarding these periods of grievances. So that is kind of sensitive topics, and then you're going much into the person's emotional situation, yeah, whereby when you interview, maybe the person will be crying, and then maybe that they will be emotionally unstable, so that kind of things. Yeah, research involving potentially sensitive topics such as participants' sexual illegal behavior, intrusive interventions of data collection methods such as the administration of substances, for example, drugs, yeah, any kinds of, so research where the safety of the researcher may be in question, researcher involving respondent through the internet, where visual images are used and where sensitive issues are discussed, yeah, whereby we're talking about the online kind of things, yeah, and then yeah. Any research where biological samples are collected or medical imaging technologies are used, especially on the medical fields and so on. All right, there's a bit of what does it mean by, the minimal or more minimal risk. So this is examples of vulnerable groups, yeah, like refugees, irregular migrants, sex workers, people cognitive impairments, like for example, special children, yeah, autistic, for example, Down syndrome, yeah, traumatized people in dependent relationship with the researcher, yeah, so on. Okay, right. Now, let us go to this one. Okay, now if you want to go into the website, you can just type REC UiTM, yeah, whereby you're gonna download the forms there. Yeah, so this is the whereby you also get more information regarding the research ethics information there. Okay, so you go into the website and this is the page of the research ethics, right? And then if you click here, you will see that form guidelines, okay, you'll find, okay, there is the downloaded form, okay, okay, right. So you get this page here, download, so you can download all the form here. The one I've given with you is already with some messages and so on, yeah. Okay, all right. The next slide is to show the schedules, yeah, whereby the meeting that we do at the level of the faculty and as well as the meeting that will be held at the level of university or the REC UiTM, yeah. So the meeting usually will be conducted once a month, especially the levels of UiTM and especially for the postgraduate student. Yeah, you have to be alert on this, yeah, and also at the faculty level, so as that the application form can be submitted and then it can be tabled in the faculty level, and then because it will be written to you because you need to make some correction. Normally the procedure is like that, yeah, and then only that we submit to the UiTM. All right. So in that website itself, you can find some, information regarding the guidelines, the good clinical practice, and so on and so forth. You can read on your own all these things, ya, garis panduan, pelaksanaan etika penyelidikan, and so on. Okay, right? You can read on those. Right. So this is a list of the important forms that you need to fill in. Yeah. Right, there will be REC2. The REC1 is just simply the flowchart. So you can just tick on this REC1 to find out the flowcharts in the website. And then REC2 is the most important form, yeah, application form for ethics approval. So this is the most important, and there's a lot of information you need to fit inside there. And then REC3, research risk classification form is a checklist. REC4, subject information sheet. This is related to your participant. REC5 is a checklist again. REC12 is ASIN form. This form is only for if your participant is below 18 years old. So you need to fill in if your participant is less than 18 years old. If it is not, let's say that your participant are among the university student, then you don't have to fill in REC12. Then there is another REC11. You don't have to fill in, but if let's say that you felt your research is within this scope, then you might be getting exemption, yeah, from review. because your research does not involve human. Okay, what does it mean by does not involve human? We'll go into that later on. Okay, so basically, this my very basic and short, PowerPoint slide. Okay, so basically these are some of the references that I refer to: the UiTM website, PM Datin Dr. Serina's PowerPoint slide, and acknowledgement to the previous, Professor Dr. Nashiki Muhammad Nurhan. Okay, so I'm going to close this one. I'm going to refer to the form now. Okay, so maybe that you can refer to the
Dr. C,
yes,
there's a
yes.
request on the chat section asking to look at the schedule
Okay, sure.
again.
All right, the schedule. Right. Okay. Now we are, today is 9th of July, right?
Sila, can you do apa tu present screen?
Okay, sure.
Shift screen.
All right. Okay, so we are now already 9th of July. Okay, so we are already supposed to submit already. Okay, and then tarikh penghantaran at the faculty at the UiTM supposed to be 2nd of August, so which means that we need to send it before 2nd of August. And then later on there will be their mesyuarat, tarikh mesyuarat for UiTM level, which is on the 17th of August. So this is the once a month kind of thing lah. Yeah. So that is why so those who need to go to send their, maybe you will understand this later, whereby I keep emphasizing on the postgraduate, and again that, you will get more information later on, by the faculty regarding the undergraduate students who are applying for the application form. All right. So especially the postgraduate student, you need to get the submission, accordingly, so as that, yours will be able to be sent to the level of the university, to be REC UiTM, for it to be put into their meeting, and then because basically the process of sending from the day one itself until maybe that you get it to be returned to you, it will take roughly about 2 months. So you have to well prepared for, to fill in properly, so as that it will minimize the problems of, giving back to you and then resending, that kind of things, to and fro kind of things. All right. Okay, Dr. Fatin.
Okay, Dr. Sila, I think no
All
other
right.
questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we come to the borang. Okay, right. Okay, let us start with the REC2, REC2. Okay, so this is REC2. Okay, so this is okay, so borang permohonan kelulusan etika. So this is REC2. You see at the top corner on the right hand side is REC2. If you go to the UiTM, REC UiTM website, you can download this form. Okay, so I have this write some notification here. Yes, some things that you need to follow, when you fill in. All right, so there are a few sections here, right? You have I think the best thing for you to do is that when you fill in the form, please read properly, from the beginning until the end. Just don't jump, and then just fill in. This is simply to minimize any problems later on. Okay, now, so bagian A or part A, right? So basically you need to fill in all in English, even though there are two languages here, but you need to fill in all these, the blank here with the English. All right, so here the title, your title should contain the independent variable, and population do not exceed 15 words. Okay, now this one, I believe that you have already gone for your research method and so on. You come up with a proposal, and then it been amended by your lecturers and so on, what you need to do. So basically, I think that you already settled down with your title, right? So just put it there, and then next is nama penyelidik. Researcher can be undergraduate student, postgraduate, staff. So basically whoever is applying for the research ethic form. Okay, right. So now, if for the undergraduate students, so you have to, this one you have to be a little bit careful, All right, now this is whereby Right, so you have your nama penyelidik, name of researcher, and name of your supervisor. Who is your supervisor? So in just a case, I am your supervisor, so you write down my name, Dr. Rosilawati Sueb here. Okay, alamat jabatan hospital, department, hospital, institute, and so on. Please write down faculty pendidikan with the proper address. Okay, alamat, because it was asking for alamat address, yeah? So you should have a proper address here. Okay, not just simply faculty of education, itu saja. Yeah, so make it a full correct address there. Then, okay, now, next is contact number, email, yeah, contact details of the researcher, not the supervisor. So this is your contact email, yeah, students, yeah. And then this part, yeah, this section for clinical trials only. So this one, yeah, this part is only for clinical trials only. So our students do not carry out clinical trials. So we don't, you just leave this blank. No, I'm sorry, you just write it as not applicable. So this is normally like medical students, pharmacy, and so on. Okay. So if the study does not have any clinical trial, please write not applicable. Yeah. So this one as well. So these two side, these two blanks is basically is for the clinical trials. But again, I'm not quite sure about the biology students and so on, physics, chemistry. Yeah? What do you define by these clinical trials? Again, maybe that later on you can deliberate with your coordinator, yeah, in for this term, yeah. But otherwise, it is maybe it's relevant or maybe it's not relevant. Okay. But basically, if let's say like that's a student, yeah, I believe it's more of not using these clinical trials. Okay, that next you have to click this one, yeah, whether sarjana ke, right? So that one, right? So this one no need. All right, here. Adakah penyelidik memerlukan, does the research require an external research ethics committee approval? Example, medical REC. So if it is not, so just tick no, yeah, tick. Now select tick if the study involve premises governed by external bodies like studies conducted at the Ministry of Health Hospital, yeah, medical research and so on. So it is, if it's yes, but otherwise, like most of us over here in the Faculty of Education know, yeah. So if there's enough funding, yeah, so just click je lah, yeah, whatever, if it is funding, but for the AE students, there's no funding lah, yeah. Okay. Right, next is borang maklumat atau research details. So you click here, whether you are using any of this. Yeah, mostly our students are using interviews, yeah, questionnaires, yeah. But just look at which one is relevant. Okay, tick which one is relevant. So here, I'm not sure whether it works or not, but or because it is PDF, so it's not working. So it is a Word form. You can click here and then you can go to the next window. You can click at the window and then it will appear as a cross sign. Yeah, so automatically it come up with a cross sign. So because mine is a PDF, so I cannot do anything with this. All right, now the next part B is latar belakang, background of the research. Yeah, a brief explanation of the problem to be studied and literature review to support. Please append if more space is required. Okay, so you mentioned about should include the dependent variable population and that kind of things. Yeah, so you write down the introduction part and then you write down the problem statement and then list the references. Include only references cited in the background section. Okay, so you just include those is available here. You do not take it from your proposal, you cut and paste, you put everything here. Yeah, from that particular reference, it's going to be a long list. So whatever that you have here whatever that you have in this stated here, you put in your references. So you need to put it here, the list of the references that you have for the background. Okay, right. Okay, and then you list the research objectives. Don't put it in a paragraph. You put it in the list. Yeah, should number, use measure of verbs, so to compare to measure as usual that you have learned so far in your research method class. All right, so you number 1, 2, 3. All right. Expected benefits. Briefly describe social benefits to the study, subject, researchers, stakeholders, significant of the studies, basically. All right, so you write it down. All right, for undergraduate studies, at least 2 semester, date of research commencement. So this is very important. Date of research commencement, For undergraduate study, at least 2 semesters or until the study is completed. So basically, you project, yeah, from the day that you send your submission, yeah, until you completed your studies. Yeah, soon you'll be submitting, yeah, and then when you plan GOT, basically we are expecting the students to GOT, right? Yeah. So at least 2 semesters or until the study is completed lah, yeah. Okay, you can ask your supervisor this, yeah. Okay, jangkaan tarikh pengumpulan data bermula or expected date of initial data collection. Date should be after REC approval. Allow at least 2 months interval from the date of complete document submission. Example, if completed documents are submitted in March 2020, expected date of initial data collection should be in May. So it's 2 months gap, yeah, to give the time for the forms to be, to be reviewed and so on until it reaches you back. So it takes about 2 months. So here it's very important for you to project the dates of the expected date of initial data collection. But anything for the undergraduate students, you wait for the announcement given by the Faculty of Education later on. Yeah. But for the postgraduate students, please adhere to this one. Yeah. Okay, now lokasi penyelidikan or location of research. Location should be specific. Example, Faculty of Sports Sciences. So you see that there is the address. You please write it as specific as possible. If you, in a proposal, you have the idea that where you'll be collecting the data, so please don't just simply like KL, Kuala Lumpur, or Selangor. Yeah, so meaning that your proposal must be rather a good one. Yeah. So where, like previously, before we have this ethics application, a student have the tendency to change, yeah, after they have finished the research method, and then later on they felt that they want to change, then they change their topic and whatnot, and then only that they get the supervisors, then maybe that again change and so on. But this time around, because you need to apply for the application, yeah, the ethics application, you have to make sure that your proposal already settled down. It must be in a good shape, so as that whatever that you put it here in the research application, in the application form here, will be information that is concrete. Yeah, right? Okay, so you cannot change it anymore. If you change later on, if you felt that you want to change, meaning that you have to reapply, and it will take time. Yeah, and that will affect your GOT. Okay, especially for the undergraduate. All right, so list, yeah. So if let's say there are a few places, a few kampung lah, for example, a few villages that you're collecting the data, so you identify what are the kampung. If let's say that, yeah, later on, if you make any changes, yeah, to this, let's say that you cannot make it to this kampung, kampung A, kampung B, kampung C, yeah. So you cannot make it for the kampung A, then you want to change to another kampung, so maybe later on you need to fill another forms of correction, if I'm not mistaken, or improvement or something like that under REC. But don't worry about that. So at the moment, what we need to focus now is about the application form. Okay, now research design and methodology. Specify the study design, example, cross-sectional, experimental. Yeah, describe the methodology, i.e., data collection procedures, tools, etc. Questionnaire-based study. Describe the number of domains, number of items. So what you can see here, yeah, this the information here in red here, it already elaborated, yeah, quite a number of things here for you to include. So in other words, meaning that your research design and methodology here for you to fill in must be detailed. Yeah, it's not just simply it is what cross-sectional, or it is quantitative study, it is qualitative study, and that's it, postdoc. No, yeah, you have to deliberate here. You have to explain well your research design methodology, because it's the most important part in this form, because the reviewer would like to see that, okay, how did you go about with the research? Yeah, what what are the things that you do? Yeah, how you go about, and then what are the instruments that you use? Yeah, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, next is okay, and then there's number 8 here. So this is also important. Don't leave it blank, or maybe just say that it's not relevant. It is relevant for everyone. So please make sure that you include this criteria, or inclusion and exclusion criteria. Characteristics of the sample respondent to be included and excluded from the study. So here, inclusion criteria state here, participants should be able to understand English and so on. Okay, now what does it mean, inclusion criteria? Who are your participants? What races are they? How old are they? And so on. From what, for example, yeah, And then exclusion criteria, if let's say that your participant is all Form 2 and Form 3 student, yeah, and then what you need to put exclusion criteria as students of Form 1 and Form 4, for example. What did I say just now? So inclusion criteria, who are your participants? Form 3 and Form 4. So the exclusion criteria will be Form 1, Form 2, and Form 5. Of course, based on who are your participants, right? Because what I'm telling here is very simplified, yeah, because I'm just telling that Form what, but here you must mention who are your participants that can be considered as your participant, and this is your inclusion criteria. And who apart from that will be the exclusion criteria. Okay, so please fill in this, yeah, right? Now, state participants should be able to understand English language. The questionnaire interview protocol only use English language and not dual languages. Okay, now, this, yeah, basically, right, your instrument, your questionnaires and interviews by right, it should be in dual languages, yeah, should be English and Malay. But just in case, if TESOL student, yeah, and you know that your work is basically about English and your participant must know English and it does not involve with Malay at all, yeah, and maybe what you can do is that you can provide only questionnaire or interview protocol in English only, right? But you have to put it inclusion criteria here. Participants should be able to understand English language. So which means that, yeah, the reviewer will understand that your participants are solely people who understand English language, because you do not provide a questionnaire with a dual language, yeah, that include the Bahasa Malaysia. But otherwise, yeah, in a normal situation, you need to provide the instruments both in English and Malay, all right? Because what we have seen, basically the questionnaires that we ourselves fill in, yeah, there are dual languages, yeah, Malay and English. And in fact, what I've heard previously, yeah, to the extent if you felt that the language is understood by your participant is like Chinese or Chinese or Tamil, you even have to provide those languages, yeah. But in the case of our student, I believe the dual languages is sufficient. Okay, now the sample size, indicate the sample size, taking into consideration, drop out all these, provide the calculation of sample size. Okay, now don't just simply write 100 population and then 50 samples. You just write it there, yeah. But you have to indicate how you go about Kerji and Morgan selection and so on, so on. Yeah, because you need to, you need to inform, you need to detail out your sample selection, convenience sampling and that kind of things. And these are the things that you have heard, you already learned research method, kan? Yeah, so you should put it here. And then how it's being calculated. Yeah, and then if let's say that it is a qualitative study, and then what should you write it here? Because basically there's no calculation for qualitative study. So what have you written in your proposal to get the number of your participant? How you go about with getting that participant in your interview, sorry, in your qualitative study. So you already gone through with your lecturers, yeah, of how to go about with the for the qualitative study. So you write it here, okay? All right, next is Carta Ahli Penyelidikan Research Flow Chart. So you have to write, you have to put in the flow chart. It is not in a paragraph form, yeah, it has to be in that diagram form, yeah, the boxes, the arrows and so on. So just write the research flow chart as of when it started, when you collect the data and so on until you finish collecting the data, okay? And then what kind of analysis, yeah? Statistical analysis should be appropriately addressed to objective in B2, yeah, to explain whether descriptive differential statistic will be used. Differential, then you mention t-test, ANOVA and so on lah, yeah, all right. Okay, now the next one is about, yeah, here, right? So the next section, yeah, which is funding details. If not applicable, please write not applicable in the spaces provided. Okay, if the study is funded, please provide the details. Yeah, it is granted by FRGS ke, by the faculty ke, yeah, so just write that. If don't have any grant, like the case of AE student, so just write not applicable. Okay, all these you write it as not applicable. Okay, right. All right, this one is about clinical trial lah, right? Otherwise it's not applicable. Okay, now the next one, bahagian D, agreement to conduct research project, okay? Must be completed and signed by all members of the research group. all members. Why is it all members? Or it could be one person, or it could be the researcher or and the supervisor. Okay, now so here this session is to be completed and signed by staff and postgraduate students only. So if you are postgraduate student, you need to fill in number 1. Ya, penyelidik utama untuk dilengkap oleh staff, principal researcher to be filled academic staff postgraduate student only. But in the case of the undergrad student, don't fill in this. Leave it blank, okay? Because there is another space for you to fill in, all right? So this is only for the staff and the postgraduate students. Okay, next. Okay, so if the postgraduate student have supervisor, so you write down your supervisor's name here. Yeah, this section is to be completed and signed by supervisors only. If there are no supervisors involved, please state not applicable. What if there's no supervisors? Because staff, your application does not have supervisors, so staff will be leave this section empty. But otherwise, for the undergraduate and the postgraduate, whereby you have your supervisors, you need to fill in this. Yeah, okay. Don't leave anything empty. So check your supervisor's ID, staff ID, their jawatan. Yeah, don't leave it empty here, right? And this is for the undergraduate student to fill in, and as well as if there is any co-researcher for the staff, yeah, whereby normally staff will conduct research in a group, so they will complete this one, right? So, and this session also is for the undergraduates to fill in, all right? So this session is to be completed and signed by undergraduate student. Co-researchers may be more than one. Please duplicate, okay, just in case there are some more, so you just add in here lah. So for the undergraduate student, please, yeah, so remember, so your place is here for you to fill in, okay? All right. Okay, now the last part is that basically this is, you don't have to fill in because this is verification from the faculty, right? So here is whereby the reviewer or the review committee, yeah, after they have gone through your application form, your proposal, the interview questions, the questionnaires and so on, then they suggest, yeah, whether it is minimal or more than minimal risk, okay? So, all right, so this is all basically is the responsibility of the faculty. Okay, right, all these are responsibility of the faculty. So basically this is a form 2. There's quite yeah, a long thing for you to fill in, right? But take your time, yeah, to fill in properly. Yeah, you have to put your intention, yeah, that you want to do it properly, yeah, not just take it for granted. Okay, all right. Now, let me go to the next one, which is
Dr. Sila,
yes,
before you
yes,
proceed, there is a question from our audience.
yes, sure.
So Siti Noain asks about how about a researcher and a TESOL student and the participants are not fluent in the English language, and if the participants are children.
Okay,
Yeah, I think maybe she's asking about the
I see.
dual language you mentioned just now.
Okay, yes, all right. So in that case, you need to have the, okay, now the purpose of, you can evaluate your own research, yeah. Who are your participant? If in that case, if you felt that, yeah, your participant don't understand the English, yeah, so you do have to have, you must make it into dual languages. You must have, yeah, because the purpose of uh, for them to understand, because we have to be concerned of who our participant, and we have to provide the best for our participant in terms of the interview, in terms of the questionnaires, yeah, so as that they be able to to participate, and you don't have this kind of what is that, what should I say, so there's no hidden agenda behind that. You have to remember that it must be clear cut. Yeah. So if you felt that your interview or your questionnaires need to be, translated, need to be in dual language, then it has to be dual language. Actually, it is supposed to be in dual language, except in certain cases, like for example, that, university student and your focus is solely on English, like literature, that kind of things, yeah, you want to get the opinion. So then maybe that you have that criteria of having only English, but otherwise it is actually It should be in dual language. Yeah, it must be in dual language actually, right? Okay. If your participant is
Yeah,
less than 18 years old, then you have to fill another borang, which is the assent form. That will be discussed later on. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share. Dr. Fatin, is there another questions?
Yes, but if I may share also the reason why you need to also have dual language so that the ethics board is also clear that you do not force the participants. Correct, Dr. Sila?
Yes,
There's
correct,
another
correct.
question by Faizul, page 3 on lokasi penyelidikan.
Yes.
So, because he says that there's no physical meeting, shall I just put their Google Meet or Zoom or WebEx?
Yes, you may. Yeah, because there's no
Yeah.
lokasi penyelidikan. So just mention lah, yeah, because this is interview is being conducted online. Yeah, right?
Okay.
Hello, Assalamualaikum, Doctor. Maybe can I
Salam.
ask you here? Okay, actually, I am postgraduate student.
Yeah.
I just joined this one. Okay, I want to ask about the form. Actually, the first one I just want to double confirm is mean from the B2 part. Is mean we need to it mean we cannot copy from the proposal directly. May we need to re-describe back lah everything, rewrite back, retype everything back
Okay,
for the
because your
background.
proposal will be
Yes.
lengthy, isn't it? It's going to be
Yes, yes.
lengthy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Then after that, if let's say my research is using the mixed method, there
Mm-hmm.
are two part, which is the number 6 in and number 8 is mean I have the interview session, and the one is survey with the using questionnaire. It's mean how about the place to make the research, and the one inclusion and exclusion something there. What the thing I need to put this mean I need to asingkan for the qualitative and quantitative, or I can put both on that part. Yes, I want to ask that things because I use mixed method.
Okay, now, all right. So in that case, you just at this particular, I'm not very sure whether I will be answering you or not. But then,
Yes.
in terms of, you just write it down. Qualitative, where is the location? Quantitative is where the location. All right.
Okay, I
So just to
separate it
make
lah.
it very clear, yeah. And then
Yeah.
also the same thing as the criteria, inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria. So you just take lah for the qualitative is this, for example. For the,
Yes.
so just to highlight that there's a differences between the
Oh,
qualitative.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
The more clearer that you can provide is much better, of course.
Okay, another one, the number 10, the
Mhm.
flow is mean it's can consider as research framework or something else.
Okay.
The flow, yes.
Yeah,
Can
yeah, yeah.
I consider research framework lah.
Which means that you are talking about your
Carta alih. Carta
yeah,
alih
yeah.
pendidikan, yes.
Yes,
Yes,
right?
okay,
So
okay, okay,
from
okay.
you start until at the end, all right? And
Yeah.
then where you distribution of your data collections and so on.
Okay, thank you.
Mm.
You answer
All
me.
right.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Okay, welcome. Any more? All right. So I think I better go to the next orang,
Ada lagi Dr. Sila dekat
eh?
chat section tu.
Okay. Can Dr. Fatin
From
read it?
from Faizul. On page 6 and 7, question number 2 and 3, it's asking for supervisor and co-researcher. If supervisor and researcher are not from UiTM, so do we need to put in the details?
Okay, you're talking about this one, right?
Yeah, maybe he
Okay.
has external supervisor code.
Mm,
So it's supposed to be on page 6 and 7.
all right, this is 6. Okay, 6 and 7.
Item 2 and 3.
Yeah. All right. Okay, now penyelidik bersama. Okay. So okay, that's a good question. Right, so far because I think it's because at the moment I haven't come across this thing, but then it will be okay for you just to fill in, yeah. Just even though the penyelidik is actually from um different university, for example, just fill in, right? I think no harm of filling in for the co-researcher. Okay, because it will be clear to the reviewer that who are actually in the group of the research.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next question. So if let's say the topic proposed now is on learning online, but later when there's no pandemic, so if the researcher decides to change it to a more physical research, so do they need to submit the form again?
Okay, there is another form, yeah, whereby changes that happen, yeah, for if any changes happen for you to collect the data, then you fill in that particular form. If let's say this application form is already approved, okay, that'll be fine. But then you're still within that scope of that research, except now you need to go and see them, yeah, physically, right? So then you fill another form, okay? There's a correction form or improvement form, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I did not came across that one yet. I did not go through properly that one, but there is actually form. Yeah, if anything that you have changed, yeah, you need to fill that particular form and then you have to resubmit to your UiTM. It's just a notification. Okay.
So in short,
Right.
any amendments that you want to do, you need to submit the form, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And then from again Siti Nur Ain, I think she's a postgraduate student perhaps. In number 11, the analytical part, if qualitative research, and we just use interview, document analysis, and field notes. Can we put that? Of course. Yeah,
Yeah, everything. I mean, like this one, you're talking about which one? The statistical analysis?
Yeah, I
Number
think so.
11? Uh-uh.
Yeah. So she's doing a qualitative research, but her data collection method are interview, document analysis, and field notes. So that's where she needs to put them, right?
Yeah. Just write it down because you're using qualitative study. And then just briefly describe over there. Yeah, there's no statistic basically when you're doing qualitative, right? Or it's just a simple mean because sometimes there is some sort of simple mean why in your qualitative analysis. So just describe a little bit there. Yeah. All
And
right.
next question from Hanis. If the research is under more than minimum qualification that they need to prepare when applying for the form.
Okay. Right. Basically, I think that what you need to do is that your PowerPoint, right? And then later on, especially your instruments, yeah, you have to be clear about your instruments because they will look into your interview questions, they will look into your questions and so on. So those are the things that you have to be prepared with. What are the answers that you can give? And then who are your participants? What is your choices of participants? So um basically I think that's the things that you need to prepare lah, insyaAllah. Yeah, because you are considered as already in the criteria of the more than minimal risk. All right, so when it is more minimal risk, probably because of participant, probably because of the interview questions and so on. Right, so you have to be prepared with all those things when they ask you questions.
Right. Okay, I think that's all the questions asked. Okay, Dr.
Okay.
Sheila can proceed.
Right, okay, so I'm going to go into we already 3:56, yeah. Okay, so right, so this is REC 3. Okay, we just completed REC 2, no? So we come into REC 3. So this is REC risk classification form. Okay, so this basically is a checklist. All right, so you don't have to worry so much. Okay, right, so again, right, please answer each item in the RC3 form by ticking in the option that applies, and if yes is selected, please describe. If let's say that, yeah, your answer is yes, then you have to explain why. Otherwise, you just tick no. Yeah. So if yes, to briefly describe, right? So again, all these things here you fill in. Do not leave any item blank. If any of the item in the RC3 form does not apply to your research, please state not applicable, right? So just follow the instruction there. Yeah, so it is not applicable, so just write it an A, yeah? Otherwise it's not, yeah, no. So in this case, if that adakah subject or other subject children under 18 years old, so if yes, then you have to briefly describe lah, yeah, all right? So adakah subject or are the subjects from a particular vulnerable group? Yeah, if it is yes, mental disorder, so you have to describe, yeah, your participant. Okay, right. So otherwise, it's just basically a lot of no here. Okay, so this is basically the form. It's just checklist and explanation. If any of those is yes. Okay. All right, that is a REC3, not much. Okay, another one, another important form is this REC4. REC4 is Borang Maklumat Subject. Okay, so include both Malay and English version. If the study population does not understand either Malay or English, include the version in the spoken language of the population. So if you have like, Chinese or, you know, and Indian people, yeah, and then they don't understand either English or Malay, then I think you have to find someone to translate, yeah, for you to, to give them the questions, yeah. So, but otherwise will be English and Malay, all right? Ensure the version of all languages carry the same meaning. Please use non-expert language, do not include technical jargon. So please use non-expert language because this one is Borang Maklumat Subject, yeah? So subject information form, right? So this is whereby to let the participant understand what your research is all about. The Borang Dua basically is just to inform the REC or the board or the committee what you are doing. But this form is for you to prepare to be given to your subject later on. So they have to understand. Yeah, you have to make it in the level of writing whereby they be able to understand. If you use it, some difficult jargon, some bombastic words, and then it's just like, words that you use in the proposal, they cut and paste and put it there, and then they don't understand. So it's not supposed to be like that. It has to be, yeah, words that is simple and can be understood well. Okay, so pengenalan yang maksimal 300 perkataan mengenai bahasa bukan pakar. So do not include citations. The introduction section should be brief, cover information that is important, relevant to the subject. Alright, remove all the instructions. So ini semua ni is actually the requirements je lah, ya. So all this, you have to make it nicer. So you have to eliminate all this instruction here, yeah. Because this is a Malay version, because down below there will be an English version, yeah. When the form is being completed, it should be worded as explanation to the subject. So you have to make it the level of that participant. Okay, so a simple language for them to answer. So your child will be requested to answer. There's another thing there for the exemption form. If let's say that it will be less than 18 years old. Okay, so menggunakan bahasa bukan pakar, ya. So it stresses again here. Yes, so prosedur penyelidikan is just like you just said that, okay, so this research is using questionnaire, and the questionnaire there are a few sections that for you to answer, yeah, and the forms of the questionnaire is in the form of Likert scale, skala 1 hingga 5, yeah. So what is all about? So it's very simple. Don't make it difficult for the participant to answer. Okay, right. Okay, risiko penyelidikan, briefly explain risk if any to the subjects. Example, minimal discomfort during procedure, time-consuming protocols, fatigue due to protocol, explain how the risk will be minimized, and what safety precaution will be taken. If, let's say, there's no risk, so just write it down as no risk. Like, for example, you give a Google form, for example, there'll be no risk. Like, basically, questions is just ordinary questions, or interview, ordinary questions, so there's no risk. But if, let's say, that you felt that your questionnaire is like 50 pages, and then answering it like it can get people so tired and so on. So you have to explain here, yeah, because especially the postgraduate students, you have to be a very comprehensive, a very detailed kind of questionnaire. So if it caused some sort of discomfort or that kind of things, right, so you just write it there. But otherwise it's just an ordinary questionnaire interview, so just write it as no risk. Okay. All right. This one, kerahsiaan or secret. So, sorry, confidential. Yeah. So here, don't eliminate this statement. Right. So just leave it as it is, and then please state your name here. Don't leave it. Yeah. So state your name here and what is your contact number. Right. Okay. Okay, if the subject information sheet is used to explain to the legal guardian, so if let's say that this, yeah, you are doing research for preschool children. So this is actually meant for the legal guardian, parents ke, teachers ke, in that sense, because the accent form later on, this REC 12 is meant for these younger children, and it's going to be a very simplified one. Okay, right. So done. Then you have this section borang izin. Okay, now this borang izin, right? Leave it blank as it is. Don't sign anything. Don't fill in anything. Researchers do not fill this part. Just leave it blank because it's going to be used later on. All right. So just leave it this part blank. Okay. And this is the section of English version. So you have to fill both, English and Malay version, right? So the same thing as just now, right? So the information just now, the notification already mentioned up there. So just follow up. So this is the English version. Okay, so don't forget that you need to sign. You need to state your name and also your contact number. And this part, leave it blank as well as the above in Bahasa Melayu just now. Okay. All right, so this is borang 4. Okay, now let us go to the next borang. So this is REC 5. Okay, so don't worry, this is just a checklist. Okay, so applicant checklist, here all these red things, so please read through. Yeah, please ensure that our research team members have signed the application. Yeah, please ensure that the application has been signed, endorsed by the faculty. All requirement document must be submitted within 2 weeks' time. Yeah, submission of forms prescribed REC must be English, with exception to research coded in other languages. So it's emphasis again, it must be in English. Any data collection instrument that require completion by respondent must be prepared both in English and Malay and other languages. All right, so it's just a checklist lah kat sini. Okay. Now, I would like to make it red here as well, yeah. Okay, it is actually not in red, but I would like to highlight here. So number 6, yeah. Okay, has your supervisor checked for grammatical errors in RC2 and RC forms? In other words, meaning you have to work together with your supervisor lah, actually, to be on the safe side. All right, so you're going to get your supervisor, so go through with your supervisor, of your ask your supervisor just to go through, whether you make any mistakes or that kind of things. Right, so this is REC 5. Okay, any clinical trial tak payah, right? So yes or no, yes or no. For clinical trials, please complete B. For non-clinical trials application, please proceed to C and sign on page 5. So it said that, it did not ask you to fill in anything here. All right, so just go straight, and then you need to, so this is your section. Okay, right, last part is that for you to sign. Okay, applicant signature. Okay, that is REC 5. Then we, I don't know how to get this thing up.
Can you repeat?
Yeah.
Can you repeat for part B? Part B, we don't have to fill in, right?
Because it's not clinical trials.
Yeah, okay.
Right. Okay. Because it did not ask you to either write NA whatsoever. It's just that for clinical trials, please complete part B. For non-clinical trials application, please proceed to part C and sign on page 5. It did not ask you to write as NA, not applicable. Yeah. For this, just leave it blank and just go to the next one. Okay. Right. So, any other question? So this is REC 5. Okay. Any question before I proceed to the next one? Okay. I cannot see that.
I think Faizul has a question. REC, I think from REC 3, page 1, table number 2.
Okay.
From particular group, my study to identify participant with depression and post-trauma. How to go about it during the study? I identify other disorder, but I did not put it in the form. Is it considered as unethical?
Yes. You have to make it clear everything. Who are your participants? You have to write it there because it's for safety of you and your participant as well. Yeah, and institution. You have to bear in mind that. Yeah, so it's just a safety precaution. For this form is basically is for you to be on the safe side. You see, so you have to mention clearly who will be your participant. Okay. Is that answering your question?
Shall I put it in exclusion, doctor? He's
Okay.
asking. Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. So exclusion, inclusion criteria. What was the question again just now? Okay.
From my study is to identify participants with depression and post-traumatic disorder. What
Okay.
if, when he's conducting the study,
Mm-hmm.
so there's emergent,
Oh, okay.
emergent condition, apart from depression and post-trauma,
Mm-mm.
so there's emergent condition, but he did not put it initially in the form.
Okay, because
Yeah, so
initially, what I believe here, what I understand is that you already have your criteria of your participant, right? And then you are doing qualitative study, I believe, right? So you already stated your inclusion criteria there, okay, and your exclusion criteria. But if an emergent kind of things happen later on as you interview, so this whereby you have the amendment forms for you to fill in later on. What I can say basically, when you fill in this form is basically what do you project, what you anticipate, what do you think about your participant. So this is your participant, so this is how you fill in the form. All right, the emergent kind of things because you don't expect this thing to pop up later on, right? As you go along, especially when it comes to qualitative study, because qualitative study is like, a lot of things you figure out later on, right? So that is whereby the amendment form will be filled in later on, all right? So to be safe, I can say that at the moment, what you can, who will be your participant, that is the most important one for you to fill in there. Okay?
Thank you, Doctor.
All right. And okay, can I just go on, Dr. Fatin?
yes, no more.
Can I go on, Dr. Fatin?
More.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
So I'm going into, all right. So I'm going into the, okay, the last form. Okay, so but this is only if you have your participant which is lesser than 18 years old, right? If researcher subjects are below 18 and assent form is required. Assent is defined as minus affirmative agreement to participate in research. It is similar to subject information sheet, which is the REC4, but uses so much simpler age-appropriate language which can be understood before a decision for participation is made by the minor. Okay, if consent from parents or legally acceptable representative of rights descend of the minor when it involves the safety and well-being of their soul. Maksudnya kat sini, what it means is that if you have your participant less than 18 years old, you have to fill in this. And the language you use must be so much simpler. But however, if let's say that even the children agrees, but the legal guardian does not agree, then you cannot proceed with the research, because anything the rights given is by the legal guardians, right? So they will allow or not allow for their children or whoever is under them, for you to carry out the research on the participant. Okay, right. So again, so you fill in this assent form, right? So a very simple. So this is I cannot read this part. So kami ingin memberi penerangan supaya anda boleh ambil keputusan sendiri. So basically you are telling the children or the minors about this research. Okay, terangkan secara ringkas mengenai projek. Okay, so very simple language. Mengapa saya patut menjadi projek? Why should the children or the participant, the minors, should be in this project? Because sometimes we do receive assent form is so elaborated, is it's like cut and paste from the REC4. It shouldn't be like that. It must be so much simpler. Okay. Right. Apa yang perlu saya lakukan dalam projek ini? Terangkan secara ringkas kepada kanak-kanak ini peranan dalam projek. So, participant tu apa dia perlu buat? So, dia kena answer interview ataupun kena isi interview question, that kind of thing. So, for them, you have to put yourself down lah, for them, how is their understanding. Right, terangkan secara ringkas mengenai risiko. Adakah risiko for your research, right? So you have to adakah saya perlu menyertai projek ini? Anda tidak perlu menyertai projek ini jika anda tidak mahu. So benda ni, this statement, this paragraph, just leave it there. Sekiranya anda menyertai projek ini, anda boleh berhenti pada bila masa tanpa membuat sesiapa marah. Jika anda ingin menyertai projek ini, sila tulis nama anda di bawah. Sila pastikan sama ada anda faham apa telah jelaskan kepada anda. Okay, so right, so this is basically a description just now, yeah, the above part. Okay, and then write down your nama penyelidik, nombor telefon, ya, dengan siapa boleh saya bercakap projek ini, right? So you write down your nama penyelidik, nama telefon. Okay, right, so this is basically leave it, yeah, it will be used later on, yeah, by the participant or by the minors. Okay, so this one is a cap jari, ya. Jika anda ingin mengambil bahagian ini, sila tulis nama dan turunkan tanda tangan atau letak cap jari anda di dalam kotak. Let's say the children cannot, sekolah tadika, preschool kan, so just cap jari here. Okay, right, so this will be later on, you use it when you collect your data. So this is Exemption Form in the English language. Okay, so you have to fill in both lah, ya, both languages, English and Malay. Okay, so that's about the Exemption Form. Alright. Okay, so if let's say that your participant is more than 18 years old, so you don't have to fill the Exemption Form. But otherwise, all the other form you need to fill in, yeah? The Reg 2, Reg 3, Reg 4, Reg 5. And Exemption Form is if your participant, yeah, depends on your participant. Okay, now, the last one, which is the Exemption Form. Okay, now this Exemption Form, how can you get the exemption, yeah, for ethical review? Now, what condition of research that can be obtained exemption? Okay, so this exemption form is whereby when your participant does not involve human, right? Does not involve human at all. Like for example, if let's say under the program of art, there is kind of art appreciation, art critics and so on, whereby you critics works or you critics pictures, paintings and so on. And it does not involve some sort of interview other people or some other people need to fill in the questionnaire. It's just you and the document, it's just you and, the artwork. All right. So this is an exemption form that you can fill in. As well as, like, for example, TESOL student, they need to work literary works. You just compare, contrast, that kind of things. It's just basically on the literary works. Does not involve the human being at all. So you can ask for this exemption form. Okay. Apa lagi? PJK, for example, you evaluate, what is that? Okay, or probably that you watch. I got a review whereby these examples that I got, that the student is making analysis of cooking book. Yeah, so it's just a cooking book. She analyzed the elements of the cooking book, so that will can apply for exemption. Okay, or anything that you watch through the television, anything that you watch through the website that you felt it is actually a public domain, is not a personal domain, so it will be okay. But if it's involve a personal domain, that is a different story. That whereby you need to fill in all the requirements, and then you need also to notify the person who, the personal domain. Yeah, okay. All right. Any more questions? Ada soalan? I think that's about it, all the forms. We're done with the forms. Alhamdulillah.
So I'd like to open the floor to the audience. If you have any questions, switch on your mic and ask Dr. Sila directly. Or if your mic is not on, perhaps use the chat section. If you have any questions, now is the time for you to ask.
What I can advise is that, please make sure that your proposal is in good form. All right. Once you propose in good form, your research method is, is already good. I think that you can carry out your research, in an efficient manner. Of starting from filling in the form. All right.
And perhaps put in as much information as you could to make it clear, right?
Yes, true. Very true.
How long do you think it will take for the approval?
Okay, usually as it's stated there, to make it on a safe note, it takes about 2 months. to and fro, yeah, because the review will start from at the faculty level first, and then it will return to the participant just in case if there is any correction. But if there is no correction, then we're going to submit to the REC UiTM. Okay, and then over there they review again at the first level, right? And then only that after that they will give to the another reviewer, which is me like in that case. So I involved with the second level of the review. Okay, but if let's say that, yeah, and also it depends on the meeting that they go into because it's once a month, kan. So if let's say that any corrections, they will return back to the participant for them to make corrections, and then they have to return it back to the REC UiTM. Then only that, they will be given the email, yeah, for them to be approved, yeah, that their forms already be approved, right? So then only that you can start collecting the data. Okay. So let's say that, yeah, let's say that you already carried out the research, right? You carried out the research and then later on, only that you want to fill in the form. Okay, right. It's quite unethical lah. It's not quite, it's actually unethical. All right. And then, okay, hold on, yeah. And then there is no, they call it retrograde application. So which means that we don't back off, yeah. So which means that, yeah, if you have carried out the research, you cannot fill in the application form anymore. Okay. I cannot see that. In the chat box.
Okay, chat box from Dr. Mev. Salam Dr. Rosilawati, Dr. Fatin. Would you mind explaining a bit about pilot study and research ethics committee?
Okay, pilot study. All right, you stated that in your proposal that you'll be carrying out the pilot study, right? Okay, so just write it at the research design methodology regarding your pilot study. Yeah, and then the next step is what? So basically you have what is inside your proposal, what you have basically about your pilot study, and the next step is what? So basically you just write it down there. You put it in the research design and methodology, right? What is that? Dr. Mel just now.
On REC, Research Ethics Committee.
What can you elaborate more, Dr. Mel?
A bit of
On the REC?
background of what does it mean by Research Ethics Committee and why do we need to have Research Ethics Committee, I think.
Okay, the REC, yeah, Research Ethics Committee, right? So the purpose, as I mentioned just now, to safeguard, yeah, the entities, the bodies, the participant, yeah, the researchers, and also the institution. And another thing is that, especially at the moment, okay, if a person carried out research without asking for approval from the REC, there are cases were like that, yeah. Because I just attended a webinar recently, okay. Sorry, no REC ethic approval. Why it is required? I believe that is what she meant, I think.
Can
Why
the pilot study be done while waiting for the REC permission from the ethics approval?
Meaning, carried out the research already and then apply for it.
Dr. Mev, do you mind using your mic?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Clearly, Dr.
Okay.
Mev.
Okay, sorry, Dr. Rosilawati. This is actually regarding pilot study.
Yeah.
Okay, because as we know, waiting for the approval from ethics committee will take time. Okay, so we're just wondering if it's possible for the student to actually carry out the research and the pilot study while waiting for the research approval from the ethics committee. Or even the pilot study has to wait for the approval from REC.
Okay. All right. From my standpoint, yes, Dr. Mev.
Because I think so far, I've been following this webinar and I have not seen anything regarding
Pilot study.
whereas pilot study is part of what needs to be done, especially at the postgraduate level. So I'm just wondering about that because I think if it can be done while waiting for the REC, that could help to not waste of time.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. From a this REC form, yeah, should be filled in prior embarking to any type of research. So inclusive the pilot study. So in other words, meaning that before carrying out the research pilot study, I know that, yeah, basically the application takes, some time, but even the pilot study is actually partly is under the application form itself. So whatever collection of data should be started with the filling in the form first, and then after you granted the application, after being granted with the, the green, okay, then only that you can carry out whatever it is by right. Dr. Meth? I know it takes time, but this is a point of view from the research committee.
Is there any mention from the research committee regarding pilot study? It might be something that we need to get it clear.
Okay, all right. I will double check on that. I will
Yes,
double
please.
check on that, Dr. Meth.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, sure, no
Because
problem. I will get back to you later on.
because the other thing is that, okay, for example, maybe some student, what they have done, that they have carried out like a mini research, okay, on their own, is more for the purpose of maybe paper publication or something like that. But because of the results, I mean, the findings from that particular research, it becomes something that they're interested in and something that they wanted to pursue for their postgraduate study. Then they wanted to do an enhancement of that and become a pilot study kind of. So I think it might be something that REC might want to consider as well, the issue of pilot study. Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I reconfirm with the REC UiTM, okay, but there is actually a few amendments, not just amendments, improvement actually on certain things, but at the moment we'll just wait for the information to be disseminated soon, inshallah. But regarding the pilot study, I will double check again. Okay, Dr. Mev? Thank you. Dr. Fatin,
we send in Dr. Sila, can you hear me?
no, it was lagging. It was like, oh yeah, I cannot hear what Dr. Fatin just now. Sorry.
Another question is that, let's say you need to ask permission from other agencies such as KPM to conduct the study in a particular setting, or perhaps permission from EPRD ke, kan? So what do we do first? Do we send in the ethics form first to get approval, or can we just do it synchronously, or do we get approval from KPM first?
Okay, you can do it synchronously, because that one also have to wait. Yeah, there's a time frame that you have to wait, so you can just apply for the KPM as well.
Okay. And then, okay, that one is done. Since we're in a pandemic, another question, since we're in a pandemic, do we still need to fill in the form manually and email it to the faculty?
Do we still need to fill in the form manually and email to the faculty? Right. At the moment, that is the form that is available, right? So you can download in the website and fill in and then email.
Yeah, I guess because the forms are also in soft copy, right? So you can just fill it in and email it to.
As I mentioned previously, you can get to the website, the earlier parts of my talk just now. So you go to the REC UiTM website, you can download the form there. The one that you already received is actually, of course, there is, you fill in, and of course you need to email to the faculty later on. It is everything in the soft copy. Right?
And then another question, when shall we start applying When should we start submitting the form, I guess, from Siti Nur Ain?
The student is undergrads.
I am not sure. Siti Nur Ain, are you undergrad or postgrad?
All right, for the undergrad, part 6, the submission is by 1st September 2021. This is for part 6 undergrad. Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dr. Mima.
All right. And then another question from Lisbeth. Hi, doctor. For online surveys that do not collect participants' personal details, anonymous survey, will this fall under REC 11?
Okay. For online survey that do not collect participant personal details, will this fall under REC application? Well, the one that answered the survey is human, isn't it? Yeah. So it is a participant, right? So meaning that you still have to fill the form, but when because you need to attach that, yeah, the information, the ethics approval as well when you put it on the website, yeah, to get people's, at least you have some information regarding, okay, you have gone through the ethics and so on and so forth, because this is in a way that when you have done the ethics application, people has more confidence of your research actually. Yeah, more so when it is online, you see. So you do have to fill in the application. The one that the REC 11 application exemption is basically you do not involve anybody at all. It's just a material thing. Yeah, maybe a book, maybe a movie, for example, videos and so on. Right. Does it answer the questions, Lisbeth? All right, thank you. Yeah, Lisbeth, right?
Okay, any other questions from the audience?
Dr. Fatih, no question?
Any other questions from the audience? No. Okay. I think
that's good enough.
I think that's all the questions that we have today. Yeah, Dr. Matt, you want to say something?
I was just about to say that I think for most of us the worry is more of the timing.
True.
Because it takes quite some time for it to get the approval. I think that's the worry. And also I think the other worry is that sometimes there are changes. I mean after the approval there might be some changes and that kind of thing. So I think that is another worry as well.
Yeah, true.
I think the time. Thank you very much, Dr. Rosilawati.
Yeah.
You're welcome. All right.
I guess we need to start planning early as well because, since for my ethics as well, it took me 4 months to get the approval. So yeah, imagine we have to do it early and
Assalamualaikum.
Yeah, waalaikumsalam.
Dr. Rosilawati and also Dr. Fatin, yeah?
Yeah.
I have one question over here because my concern is like PM Dr. Siti Maf just now is about time frames, yeah.
True.
So I think is it possible if REC can rediscuss about the time frames from 2 months, I don't know, maybe to 1 month, because my case, I'm not from faculty educations. I'm from outside university, but I'm one of the staff in Shah Alam. UiTM Shah Alam. So I'm not sure how might the flow sending all the documents through REC. But as mentioned by Dr. Rosilawati just now, it might takes as fast or as soon as possible around 2 months. So I think 2 months is too long for me. So so I'm not sure how might it goes. But if doctor can hello or Roger, someone in RAC, please. We are students over here. We really need make fast. It's not about we try to finish our study earlier, but we try to minimize our times because we doesn't know what happen in future. Yeah. So I think that's all, Dr. Rosilawati. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Faizul. Mr. Faizul, are you doing research for undergrads or postgrad, or are you you just joined?
No, I'm with other UC. I'm in Pusat Kerjaya and Counseling
I see.
counselor over there, but I'm doing my PhD in
Uh-huh.
quantitative, not quali, doctor.
With UiTM or
No,
with
with
the
Unimas.
I see. All right.
Yeah, so
Does
that because my participants is with UiTM students. So when I
so not
see
the
the first page REC1 form, yeah, there's undergraduate, postgraduate stuff, and also external. So I don't know which part that I need to take. Yeah, so it's that is why I see my case a bit different from other students in this meeting. But never mind, I will keep update with REC if there are any
Yeah,
issues. Then I
yeah,
will keep contact
yeah.
most of you over there. Yeah.
Right,
Thank you
right,
very
right.
much, Doctor.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, you can always contact the Secretariat of the REC UiTM for further elaboration on this. Yeah, for cases like, for example, Mr. Faizul. Yeah, because he's someone who's outside there and collecting the data over in UiTM. Okay, so the one that actually I've been informing just now. Yeah, is basically the normal situation, right? So. For like, for example, Dr. Mel just now mentioned about the pilot tests, yeah, pilot studies and so on, that need to be clarified again later on. But in terms of the timing, the 2 months and so on, yeah, we at the level of the faculty, we are just basically receiving, yeah, the information from the uphill, yeah, from UiTM, REC UiTM basically. So basically what can be minimized, yeah, at the moment is that the form, try to fill in the form as best as possible, as detailed as possible. Yeah, so as that can minimize in terms of returning back the forms and then through and fro and that kind of things. Yeah, and furthermore, because the meeting is only once a month, and but I do hope so that maybe later on, yeah, some other, not to say improvement, but some other good things might occur. Yeah, so that will be, help us. Yeah, the researchers basically. I think basically the undergrad, the postgrad, and also the staff as well, because the staff are having grants and so on, and they also need to catch up with the time frame and so on. Yeah, because they're even more. Yeah, because it's given like 2 years and so on. Right, so basically it involve everyone here. So I'm just explaining in terms of the protocols is being used. Yeah, is being applied by the REC UiTM up the hill. But further than that, it's not my own jurisdiction to make further than any decision. Yeah, whatever it is, it has to be referred to REC UiTM. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rosilawati, for the explanation and for spending time with us this afternoon.
No problem.
I
Thank you
guess
so much.
I guess that's it for today. If any of you have any other questions, so perhaps you could email Dr. Rosilawati or
Sure.
maybe ask your respective supervisors for advice as well. So I think that's all for our session today. Thank you again for joining us, and good luck in applying for the ethics approval. The tips here is to always start early and try to get it as fast as possible, especially the correction part.
I wish all the best for everyone.
Right. Good luck, everyone.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Dr. Tita.
Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dr.
Doctor.
Fatin.
Thank you, Dr.